and welcome to Ms. Hauber's podcast for the weeks of the 31st of August through the 11th of September, the last 2 weeks. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at what should be in your composition notebook. I'm going to do a composition notebook check in the next couple of weeks for a grade, so make sure you have everything in there that I'm going to be looking for. The first thing we're going to go over is we had 3 journal entries. Make sure you have them. The first one that we did was on our favorite holiday that we spend with our family. The second one was the one about the characteristics of myself, my identity that come from my place, where I come from. And the third one was a response to reading that we did about the naming of names, where you wrote about whether or not you think Harry should have fought, to be human longer. You should also have your writing territories in there, and I will be looking to make sure that you have a good list of writing topics and ideas that you want to write about. You should also have 2 writing pieces in there, rough drafts of a free write that I let you choose anything you wanted from your writing territories, and a draft of your ideas about imitating the style of Cynthia Rylance in the When I Was Young in the Mountains. The other things that you need in your composition notebook are notes from our discussion of My Father is a Simple Man, and there are 4 grammar pages of notes that you should have. Subjects and predicates, finding the simple ones, helping verbs and linking verbs, finding a subject if it's out of an unusual order, and combining sentences using compound subjects and verbs. For our grammar review, we're going to just go over the concepts that we went over in the last 2 weeks. The first thing that we learned was how to find the simple subject and the simple predicate in a sentence. And remember, the simple subject is the noun or the pronoun that's acting, doing, or being in the sentence, and it'll be the one word. The simple predicate will be the verb that the simple noun is acting, doing, or being. Don't forget your list of helping verbs and linking verbs, and remember that verbs aren't always actions. Sometimes they're being, like I am a teacher, he is a student. We also learned about how to find a subject if it's in some sort of an unusual arrangement. A subject can be out of the traditional order of subject first, verb second. The easiest way and the most common way that we do this is in a question where we put the subject at the end. Where is she? How is he doing? When we mix them up a little bit. Sometimes for emphasis, we will do something like on her head is a cap. The cap is the subject, but we're really wanting to bring attention to where the cap is, on her head. And the other type of sentence where we have a hard time sometimes finding the subject is an imperative sentence. Because it's a command to you to do something, you is the subject. But we don't say you do your homework. We usually just skip it and say do your homework or do your chores. So the subject of those sentences is actually what we call an understood you. The other thing we discussed was how to combine sentences using compound subjects or verbs. If 2 or more people are doing or having or being the same thing, you don't have to write 2 sentences. I don't have to say Joan went to the mall and Mary went to the mall. I can say Mary and Joan went to the mall. If, for example, one person is doing or saying or thinking or feeling 2 things, you don't have to have 2 sentences. I can say, I went to the movies and ate popcorn. I don't have to split them into 2 sentences, so I can have a compound predicate. You can even do both. You can have 2 subjects and 2 verbs. Mary and Joan went to the mall and bought new clothes. They are both going. They're both doing the same thing. You can put them together into 1 sentence. For writing in the last 2 weeks, we've done a couple of things. We've done our writing territories. We have done a free write where I let you write whatever you want, and we'll do that quite frequently. And we also worked on imitating an author's style, which is something I want you to keep in mind throughout the year. When you see an author or you're reading an author and you really like something and the way that they write, remember, there's plagiarism where you copy an author's ideas and take them for your own, and imitation where you take your ideas and your thoughts and look at the way an author writes. Do they use really cool sentence constructions? Do they set up their verbs differently? Do they do different things? You can imitate their style. So we imitated the author's style of Cynthia Rylance in When I Was Young in the Mountains, and we created our own personal story. First block, don't forget the final draft of one of your pieces is due Friday the 18th. Third and fourth block will be finishing the When I Was this week. In reading, last week our theme was how family and culture shape our identities, and we read two things that focused on those themes. And the first one was My Father is a Simple Man, a poem about a man's father and how he shaped him and how he looks up to him. The other we read was Fish Cheeks by Amy Tan, a short autobiographical memoir piece about her embarrassment and frustration with being different from everyone else, and also how she became to accept who she was. This week's theme in reading was how my identity is shaped and moved by where I come from. We read When I Was Young in the Mountains by Cynthia Rylant. We read a science fiction short story, The Naming of Names by Ray Bradbury, about how some characters were actually truly changed by their environment. And I read you some poetry of Naomi Shahid Nye, and we discussed how sometimes the places where we come from, if we move, how that affects the way we see ourselves. Had some really interesting discussions this week, and I really look forward to some more. Next week, we'll be adding some more ideas into our understanding of how we become who we are. And we'll be looking at genetics. We're not going to become genetic scientists, but we're going to be looking at some of the ideas of how we're shaped by our actual physical being and the things that affect us. It'll be an interesting week of discussions, and I look forward to it. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.